Hello, welcome to The Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast, as voted on by us, the hosts of The Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast. It's Monday, the 7th of November, 2022. I'm Nick Richardson, and today I'm joined by Peter, put the soccer ball down, Gus Burns.
He's always throwing it near expensive stuff.
Oh, it's terrifying. And she's a variety human in Adelaide, just trying to entertain and meet new people. It's Jens.
Hi, it's me.
Hey.
What's going on?
Not much. What's going on with you, buddy?
Not much. I went to see Ghibli over the weekend, which is cool. A Ghibli orchestra.
I was going to ask, like the studio?
The man?
I wish.
John Ghibli?
What did they play? Was it
It was
a mixture of the hits?
Yes. Yeah. A little bit of everything. They were all hits. Definitely cried.
Yeah.
Was it one of the because was it like a live scoring of different scenes, or there was no video and it was just the orchestra?
Yeah, no video, just pure music. In like this candlelit theater. It was amazing.
How well do you know the Ghibli films? Did you recognize every piece?
Yes. So I know, I've seen a lot of them, but I brought Bajo and he's only seen one.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So, but he enjoyed it. I think he watched Howls.
I was about to say it's got to be House Moving Castle.
Yeah.
Actually, I guess I've seen Howls and I've seen The Cat Returns, and maybe I've seen one other one. I haven't even seen My Neighbor Totoro.
My Neighbor Totoro is the best one.
Isn't House Moving Castle the best one?
No.
Are you sure?
Jens, what's the best one?
I think Spirited Away.
Spirited Away is a great one as well.
I haven't seen that either.
And Ponyo, childlike, it still slaps. Ponyo fucking rocks.
Ponyo's great. There's no scary things in Ponyo. It's just good. It's just a good time.
Yeah.
All right.
There's really no bad ones except for Grave of the Fireflies.
I was gonna say.
I never want to watch again.
Steven didn't cry.
He didn't cry.
He didn't cry, and I was so upset at him.
Yeah. Does he cry in films at all?
He cries when a dad cries. If there's a dad that's sad, he loses it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
he's got dad issues.
Ariadne is amazing. Princess Mononoke. They're all good. They're all good movies. Okay, good.
They're no Pokemon though.
No, nothing. True anime. Well, it's a pleasure to have you here, Jens. In case there are people watching or listening who don't know who you are, do you want to just introduce yourself? Tell us a little about what you do on the internet.
I play some games on the internet pretty badly, but I like to play games on the internet on Twitch, and that's kind of all I do online, I think.
That's all you do online?
Yeah, games and...
So you don't have an email?
You got a podcast?
I do have a podcast. Yeah, I have a... I have
You're not proud of it?
No, I am. Rama's not here, is he? No, I do gaming podcasts where we just talk about gaming news and stuff. And then I made a little gaming wrap up of stuff I've played. So yeah, I do a couple of things.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I would say there's a lot of variety streamers who are just pretty middling at the actual gaming component of it. Like a Bajo, for example. Whereas you play stuff and you're good at it.
I'm like a jack of all trades, but master of none. I dabble into everything for a little bit. And I'm like, okay, cool. Next one.
Yep.
Bajo played God of War and he just cried the whole time.
He couldn't even get through it. He was, because of motion sickness.
Yeah, I didn't have that.
Did you say motion sickness or motion sickness?
Yeah.
Both.
Okay, yeah.
It was just, as soon as he felt anything, he got nauseous.
Yeah.
What is this?
I gotta go lie down.
Strange sensation.
Do you think he's actually crying when a dad cries, or does he just get dizzy and that's he's confused
and he can't control his
Maybe
tears
that's why he doesn't want to play God of War online in front of stream, because he'll just lose it.
Yeah.
The coward. All right, we've all got daddy issues. Stephen, suck it up. Poor choice of words. All right, let's move on now with the show because Pete, this news is not going to break itself. The backup is presented by one of our top Stitch patrons and the best evil person we know, whoever let all the cats go around my neighborhood. There's a bunch of cats that just run around at night. One darted past me last night when I was outside having a drink. Terrifying.
Oh.
Just strange fucking cats at 10 o'clock at night. Not happy about all the cats. Mm-hmm. Whoever brought the cats here, go fuck yourself. And I assume that person was Evil Spy Boy. Get your exclamation mark Spy Boys out in the chat because thanks to his generous Patreon support, Evil Spy Boy is bringing you the backup and he's hoping you bring the generosity to Food Bank Australia. Food Bank provide regular breakfast to more than 132,000 kids across the country. And on top of this, more than 200,000 children seek food relief from their charities every single month. Donate at foodbank.org.au. In the name of Evil Spy Boy, there's a link in Nightbot right now and head to tasteofmultifish.com for more info about Evil Spy Boy's proclivities. All right, let's back up and look at the biggest stories of the week as voted on by us, the host of the backup, where we back up and look at the biggest stories of the week. And Jens, you're our guest, so please start us off with a story that made you back up and say, hey, that's a pretty big story.
Yeah, sure. Did you know that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the latest one that just came out, is Call of Duty's biggest selling Call of Duty ever?
What?
I did know that, but it's mainly because you were like, this is the story that I want to talk about.
Fair, I did spoil it. But it sold $800 million dollars?
It sold that many dollars.
It made it?
Yeah.
How much did it sell that for? Because if it sold it for any less than $800 million, it made a terrible mistake.
No, 800 million. They've made 800 million over the last the release weekend, which is I was surprised. I didn't think that many people were playing this one.
Is that based on your experience online or just like sentiment on social media and stuff?
I mean, like Call of Duty has been around for so long. I like why this one that has brought a lot of people back. I'm wondering if it's just the Modern Warfare series.
Yeah, I think that's basically entirely it. I mean, it's good, but good things don't sell that quickly in an opening weekend. Like the quality of a thing doesn't matter in the opening weekend. You just go; those are people who are going to buy it regardless. I feel like this game had the benefit of having two killer IP, and that is Call of Duty and Modern Warfare
McTavish
in the title. Soap McTavish is the third. But having both of those, like both of those phrases are guaranteed moneymakers. So when you put them together, I think that there's a lot of love for the Modern Warfare series. There's a lot of love for Infinity Ward's version of Call of Duty, even if a lot of people playing it don't necessarily know that different studios make different titles. So yeah, but I think that it probably still surprised everyone that this is the most lucrative. Maybe people just thought they were buying Modern Warfare 2 again. And so that's just where a lot of the money went. Pete, you like the Modern Warfare series. Wait, do you like the Black Ops series or the Modern Warfare series the most?
I think I probably prefer Black Ops. I think it's more interesting than just like gung-ho America has all the guns. But like they both feel good to play. But I think I would probably, from a story perspective, lean towards Black Ops. And from like a multiplayer perspective, I haven't really cared about Call of Duty multiplayer since the original Modern Warfare 2. However many years ago that was. That's when I kind of had my fill of COD as a shooter. So
I think the original, Modern Warfare, I was listening to a podcast where, it's just fucking impossible to Google this now, isn't it?
Yeah.
2009. I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about Bayonetta. Yeah, Bayonetta 1 came out when Modern Warfare 2 came out. And then since then, they have made 2 more Bayonetta games, and they have made so many Call of Duty games that they have looped back to just making the same Call of Duty games again, which is
amazing.
a wild piece of information. Jen, surely, because you play Call of Duty, as do I. How are you responding to this? Do you think it is worthy of the title of being the most lucrative COD?
I don't know. I mean, it is amazing. I played a lot of the campaign and it's stunning. The graphics and I haven't played the last campaign, but the graphics for a Call of Duty game, it's just incredible. Like I was so surprised. But in terms of like, my favorite Call of Duty was Advanced Warfare, which is very...
Is that Kit Harington? Space?
Wow.
Yes.
Is that Kevin Spacey?
It was the first spacey one, and I loved it, but everyone hated it because of the whole verticality stuff. So yeah, I'm surprised that this one was like the one that kicked off the Call of Duty franchise again, but hey, I'm not mad about it. I like shooting stuff, so it's fine.
The phrase "my favorite Call of Duty is Advanced Warfare" I don't think has ever been uttered by anybody. I'm not throwing shade. I'm just like, that is the director of that game is on a plane right now in your house just to be like, it was you.
You're the only one who played.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving this one. I'm playing a ton of the multiplayer right now. I just think it captures everything that people want from Call of Duty. Like it is quintessential Call of Duty. So and given that Cold War was good, Vanguard was disappointing, I think there's also probably a lot of just people feel like they haven't been playing Call of Duty for a while. It feels like it's been at least 1 year, but maybe for some people 2 years since they played something that felt like the thing that a lot of people identify with, like, dude, bro, Call of Duty. I'm coming home from my college football practice. I'm sinking a brewski. And my college roommate and I are gonna play COD until whoever delivers the pot. You know, like a classic high school college experience. But yeah, it is a stunning amount of money. And Nicrotex in chat before said, "I love how connected we are to the gaming world, yet I hear news like this and I think, damn, I just don't know games at all." That is one of those things where you just go like, yeah, you forget that people rag on COD. It's COD for a reason. Yeah. Anyone have anything else? Pete?
No, I just I think it is interesting that it's just like, I think it's good that there can be so many facets of gaming, and obviously this is like, Call of Duty has for a long time been one of the massive money makers, and when you hear, you know, $800 million worth of revenue in a weekend, the 69 billion dollars that Microsoft has spent buying in the process of trying to acquire Activision Blizzard makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like, right, okay. I mean, 60 billion of that was for COD and 9 billion of that was for Warcraft 4.
I was going to say it was for taking on the lawsuits from Blizzard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, that deal seems to be running into a little more regulatory issues than I think that they were anticipating, and they seem to be a little bit on the defensive about that at the moment. But from every expert who is not me that I've read, they still think that that's going through, and when it does, yeah, this thing's just going to print money for the rest of its life. And Warzone 2 hasn't even launched. It comes on like the 18th with the first season, so there's a whole, and the store at the moment you can only buy some fucking like. See, this is why I'm so diseased. I get the game. Now, admittedly, I didn't pay for the game. I was provided a code from Activision. But even if I had paid for the game, I open it up, I start playing multiplayer, I tab over to the store. I'm like, what cool shit can I buy? I want skins and guns and that sort of thing. And at the moment, there's only some like veterans bundle that you can buy, and I'm like, I don't want to support real warfare, I just want to support fake warfare. So I'm pissed at the moment there's nothing in the store that I can buy, which is just like a terrible, that is a terrible mindset to have about anything. But when
say
it
a
does
lot about
launch,
America, that one of their biggest entertainment products is like glorifies war, and that entertainment product is fundraising to help veterans who have no support from their government after they come home.
100%.
What a country.
Have been traumatized.
America in a nutshell, really.
Yeah. Great. Peter, what story caught your eye this week?
Kojima. The man.
We should just have a Kojima segment.
We should. There's just a bunch of news around him. And he's just being himself. He's got his podcast where I think like an abundance of this kind of conversation around Kojima is like springing from, because he just talks.
Well, unlike Jens, he's proud of the
he's
podcast.
proud of his podcast. And I think I want to start with him finally addressing Abandoned, which was that Blue Box Studios game that was like a horror first-person horror survival thing, and the footage that we saw of it was what you're seeing here. PlayStation 5 exclusive, really high detail, and very minimalist. And as soon as people started seeing this footage, they started thinking Silent Hill, which Blue Box did not shut that rumor down, and they started thinking Kojima, and Blue Box didn't shut that rumor down either. But Kojima has finally said, because we all know that it's not a Silent Hill game now. It's not. Kojima's not involved at all. But he has finally come out and said something about the whole kind of like conversation around Abandoned. And he said quite sweetly that. Sorry, just bring up the quote. No, that was about the other. That was about the next story that I'm going to talk about. He said quite sweetly that I'm so sorry. I had this. I don't think
Is this the quote? I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. I'm so very sorry. No, there's three parts of this story, and I've got quotes on Slack, and I've got some articles open and stuff. But he did say fake news is a bad thing, but now that we've both gained attention from all of this, let's boost morale and create something good. Once they have made something, and he's talking about Blue Box, the users who play it will understand it's not Silent Hill and I'm not involved, but they will still grow to love their game. I think there is a way to turn fake news around positively. I say this, but I've never met the guy. So he's kind of like...
Wait, that was how he ended the quote?
Yeah. But kind of the crux of the conversation was that all of this conversation has happened. That can't be changed. And the developer, Hassan, I'm not sure what his first name is, should be capitalizing on that. Kojima's saying, I don't care that I got dragged in, really, but you should care, because I'm me. And if you put something out sooner rather than later, you will still be able to capitalize on the fact that me.
Yeah,
and I think
interesting.
I think the sentiment is positive, as kind of his take on it, but also it's like it's still a little bit narcissistic and very Kojima insular. But I think it's nice that he has hope for Blue Box after all of that, and isn't like upset that he's had his name kind of attached to something that he doesn't necessarily have any. He doesn't want to be attached to something that fails, obviously. So
I like the quote. I think he means it in a very good way. But the idea of once people, because obviously. I think I'm being disingenuous. I'm just going to be disingenuous. Fuck it. It's a Monday. Because he does love video games, and he loves lots of video games, and he talks about lots of video games all the time. But I also like the part of the quote where he's like, once people play the game, but I think that he thinks his video games are the best.
Yeah.
And he's like, once people play the game, they'll realize it has nothing to do. It is not a game that I have made. Like, it has nothing to do with me, because it will be very bad. But and it's just like this nice sort of like, once you look at it, you'll realize there's no way this Kojima ever looked at this video game before. This guy's just gone like quiet on this one as well, which I understand, but it's more that the reveal and everything, it just feels like, I don't know, I would be surprised if we actually ever see this game come out.
Yeah,
and if it does,
yeah, me too.
I have no fucking idea what it is.
Abandoned feels like a fitting title for
100%
project.
Do you think it'll be like another PT where a teaser will come out and that's kind of it?
Oh my God, wouldn't that be
Maybe.
such a baller move for them to make?
Yeah.
Go like, it's not like we're just going to follow in Kojima's footsteps of how to release a game. We're just going to put out a really solid baller demo and just go, okay, this is it. And then they pull it from the store as well. And that would be very fun.
That would be amazing. Then
so that's part one.
That's part one. Part two is that he has come out and said that Kojima Productions has been approached for acquisition many times, but they're staying true to the project and staying independent. And he
What a good guy.
I know. He talked about it on Brain Structure, which is his podcast, where he said, "Let me reiterate that we are indies. We have no affiliations whatsoever, and we are not backed by anyone. And every day I am approached by offers all over the world to buy our studio. Some of those offers are ridiculously high prices, but it's not that I want money. I want to make what I want to make. That's why I created this studio. So as long as I'm alive, I don't think I will ever accept those offers."
Wow.
Stay strong, Kojima.
Just a fucking hero, isn't he? God damn.
His life's hard. It's so hard.
I don't think you should ever make declarative statements like that. I don't think you should ever say, as long as I'm alive, I will never sell this studio. Because one, you're inviting assassins from
You are inviting
Xbox.
Xbox assassins. But he did say, so as long as I'm alive, I don't think I will ever accept those offers.
Oh, okay, good. Okay.
He covered his ground.
He's fishing for a higher one still, a higher bid still. Yeah. There's going to be everyone's got their selling point. They got their price. So yeah. I mean, that's not particularly news, but interesting to hear that he is fielding offers from. I mean, you imagine PlayStation and Xbox have had a bid, but you would think Tencent and
totally.
And who's the people that are just acquiring IP? Embracer Group would have sent across a little folded paper across the boardroom desk as well. But he's staying independent, and I think it's early in the piece for him to be going back to falling underneath a publishing arm.
And he's only released one game.
He's only done the one thing,
and PlayStation paid for that one.
Yeah. I think as long as he can keep getting timed exclusivity deals or that kind of thing, he's in a good position. I mean, he's got there are few people out there, few developers out there in this day and age that have brand recognition. He is a brand, Kojima, which he established himself by putting his name as every credit in the video games that he makes.
It's so simple.
You just do that.
Yeah.
And lastly, I just wanted to talk about last week we talked about how he was talking about how he's going to redefine a genre with his next title, and we know that Margaret Qualley and one of the Fannings, Elle Fanning, is involved in his next project, and a bunch of
How many Fannings are there?
There's Elle and Dakota.
Two.
I know two.
Yep.
There's
probably like five more.
There has. Well, I mean,
it's like a Mary Kate.
Yeah.
Olsen. Situation.
There'll be triplets somewhere that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
Waiting for
There's a shitty Hemsworth who's a dentist somewhere.
Yeah. And so footage leaked of a Kojima project.
Sorry, just very quick. I feel bad saying that that's the shitty Hemsworth. Liam is the shitty Hemsworth. The dentist is doing the Lord's work. Sorry, Pete.
Dentists also fucking suck.
No. Dentists are heroes.
No.
We suck because we don't floss.
No. Dentists suck.
They're not trying to inflict pain on us.
Yeah, but that's their job. But that's my job as well. And people praise me for it all the time. This new kind of horror thing. Clearly, they've been demoing some concepts in the studio, and some of it leaked because we see Margaret Qualley's character model walking down a creepy hallway, and this is being filmed off someone's phone. There's WhatsApp and Twitter message notifications coming through. It looks like there's a picture-in-picture of someone playing it, and we will see nipple throughout this whole record. And here it is. So this topless man is filming this footage that is potentially work in progress, build concept for Kojima's next game. And Overdose is the title that is revealed at the end of this clip. And that kind of aligns with a lot of what he's been talking about and how he's going to bring something new to the horror genre that will redefine the genre and make it feel like something new. And I think, like, in terms of narrative horror, that's a space that totally is blurring the lines between video games and kind of more traditional television film narratives, which is the line that Kojima likes to walk. But yeah, this shows some jump scares, and I thought the footage was so fucking funny because there's just a topless man in the whole thing. Whenever there's enough light on his body from the screen, it reflects in the screen. But yeah, I think I think this is nothing. It's very clearly early build stuff, but it could be a hint to what has been happening at Kojima Productions.
I mean, I have a lot of questions. Most of them are about whoever is recording this footage. Even just the idea that they're not screen capturing the phone.
True.
Is wild. But the footage itself is interesting because I would say that during most of it, it looks like she's a player-controlled character. It doesn't look like a cutscene, right? Like, it looks like, oh God.
But wait, this is the important part. You've obviously failed, so this game overstates. Hideo Kojima game, and Overdose.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, so if you just play this again, like...
Yep. Sorry,
she is walking. I feel like she's not walking like she's in a cutscene. She's walking like a player is controlling this character and sort of looking around.
Yeah.
And yet the camera angle, and someone's also there holding a controller. The camera angle is like an observable camera, and I don't know whether or not that's something, but it just feels a little bit like, because he's talking about, oh, it's going to be a new medium and blah blah blah. It's almost like someone's making a movie of the player that they're being. If that makes sense. Like, it's not a traditional viewpoint that you would play a game in.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, or the alternative, and this is equally as viable, is this is a long and ponderous cutscene, which we know he makes, and it's just like, you could have, like, this is terrible pacing, and these are weird angles to choose to create tension as well, because it looks like these angles are being chosen by the player. So that's kind of interesting to me. It's weird footage, I suppose.
Yeah. I think particularly because there's those quick-timey events that seem to be triggering, like, moments of drama. In this kind of just walking through a corridor of, like, you know, react to the quick time event at the end of the corridor, and the camera whips to it whether she does or not. Like, that's the dramatic reveal, is that the director made a choice as opposed to the character made a choice. Good observation. Yeah, I didn't really notice that on the first pass. I was very distracted by the topless man.
Yeah. Jen's topless man or the footage? What's most interesting to you?
Topless man. Yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Especially the reveal at the end. It's like, it's just fully out there.
It's shitty that
it looks interesting.
Will get more views than this show. That piece of footage. Sorry, go ahead. It looks interesting.
Yeah, it looks interesting. Like, the whole idea of the camera. It does feel like it's a short film that someone's directing. And that's what the camera is doing. I'm curious if it's a full game of that, if it's going to get really old real fast, or if he can build enough tension that it's like, it builds that narrative or helps with the narrative. Should be interesting.
Yeah, because what's the I guess it's still just level progression is what you get out of it. Is the success metric is that you directed the film in a way that was good enough for the actor to survive the things that were approaching from behind or something like that. So they escaped, and therefore the story continues, and therefore the game continues. I was going
to say, we're making a lot of assumptions, but last week we did talk about the fact that he said he would revolutionize games and film.
Yeah.
He wasn't just confining himself to games. He was like, this could be a new way to tell stories in film. And if making the film is what he's talking about, he could actually be right. Yeah, cool. Excited to see what this is. Love the man. The fact that was the leaked footage just adds to all the mystery.
Yeah.
I would also not be surprised if he organized all of that.
Yeah.
And that was just one of his mates. And he was like, I need you to take your shirt off. I'm going to hold this cheap tablet and I need you to film it. Good. Well, from cheap tablets to the most expensive piece of hardware that you will possibly be buying, the PSVR 2. Announced a while ago in a way that felt like someone at Sony kept just forgetting to talk about it and so would quickly publish a blog. And it was like, oh, this is a weird way to roll out what is essentially a console announcement. But we've been getting drip-feed information over the last few months about PSVR 2. Now we got the biggest piece of information, and that is the price. When it will launch next year in Australia, the PSVR 2 with its 4K HDR display and Horizon is going to cost you, for the base, which will include the headset, a pair of PSVR 2 Sense controllers, and the stereo headphones, are going to cost $879.95. So it's going to cost essentially $900. If you want a game included with that, which would be the Call of the Mountain Horizon bundle, then it will cost you $960, which for the base one is $81 more than the PlayStation 5. So you need to essentially spend close to $2,000 for all of this to be working, which is a staggering amount of money. Now, this is one of those things where I'm like, I don't really know what I expected. But maybe that's because I didn't think about it too much, because I knew if I did think about it, I would realize there's no way they could justify a lower cost on this. The hardware that they've got, like, they're kind of really doubling down on PSVR 2. And for all the reports that have come out, it's kind of the best VR headset. It's the most comfortable. It has the best screen. The hardware in it is really, really solid. And I've read a ton of things from different people saying, no, this is actually like the best VR that you can play. It also does not include any of the components when PSVR 1 launched. It used things that they had already sort of like made and sold separately as well with the PlayStation, like the Move controllers, and the PlayStation Eye camera was doing the tracking and that sort of thing. All of that needs to be just custom made for this hardware. It's not something that already exists and they can subsidize or whatever. But Jens, I guess I'd start with you. Are you interested in PSVR 2? And if so, are you interested in PSVR 2 at an $880 price point?
It looks really cool. Like, the controllers look heaps better than the motion ones, because they kind of fit around your wrists. And seem to have more mobility options. But it is a lot of money to fork out for a VR headset that is PlayStation exclusive. So you couldn't, like, Steam offer a lot of VR sales in terms of games. But PlayStation VR games I feel like are still so limited and still so expensive that if you really wanted a whole PlayStation VR to set up with all the games, it'll probably cost you like $2.5 to $3 to like get a fully kitted setup that you can play games on.
Games to play, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. And with the VR market not being that big yet, I don't know how well it's gonna do.
Well, that's the thing, right? And Pete, I know, like, you have a VR headset. You don't use your VR headset anymore. The MetaQuest 2 got a price hike, and it's $629 for the 128 gig model, which is incredibly expensive. Still cheaper than this, and it runs by itself, and it has access to it. It's essentially a PC, so it just uses everything on the Quest store nearly. And you can tether it to your hardware if you want to use the rest of it. if you want to use like the games that aren't supported there. Do you think this price point, like, I guess who are Sony aiming this at? Because this is not going to make VR more ubiquitous when you need to spend sort of $1,800 to get this running. This is not something you're going to buy for the kids just as a punt at Christmas.
Yeah, I don't really know, because it's priced at, you know, early adopters, and we're kind of past the early adoption phase. Like this,
we're in the slow death.
We're in this,
my understanding.
Yeah. I think I've voiced this before. I don't think VR is ever going to be a ubiquitous tool. I think augmented reality might become more and more popular, but VR headsets in the way that we're using them now is just awful. So I don't see there being a huge market for this ever. And maybe that's something that PlayStation have recognized and gone like, well, if it's only ever going to be a super niche fraction of a percentage market, then we should price to match that, so that we're not selling hardware at a loss like they often do with consoles, as an example, because they know they can sell software to catch up. Whereas with this, they're like, the people that really want this are going to go for it. And that's why we've gone for, in terms of hardware, some of the best on offer, because that's going to entice people that already have an HTC Vive or whatever the Steam one's called, those really premium ones already. We could potentially lure them across to the PlayStation version of it, because they're obviously rolling around with a lot of cash to splurge. So, but yeah, I think Jens, your point is so right. Of like, if I'm going to spend X amount, and maybe I'm the kind of person that is okay spending $2,000 to get a good VR headset or setup. I'm going to do it on PC, a platform that is going to offer me like infinite more content than the closed ecosystem of the PlayStation, where I can't put homebrew stuff to work. I can't see what modders are doing and go like, oh, cool, let's try that. And it crashes the whole system, but whatever. Like, I'm playing with the hardware, the tool that I bought, outside of just being able to get into a worse looking version of Horizon, which that is, I'm never going to be sold on this. Yeah. I think I would check it out if I could get my hands on one for free. But I would not play it for more than a couple of weeks. I just know that's been my experience with VR. Every VR headset I've touched, so I'm definitely not going to buy one.
And it also just feels like it's not doing anything new game wise. That's the main thing, because it's like everything about this is way better than PSVR for sure. Like, the controllers look great, the haptic feedback stuff looks awesome, the audio is supposed to be really good, the comfort, like all of that is a really big. The one wire is, I mean, I wish it was wireless, but you know, just having one is way better than the complicated setup that it was before. Like, all that stuff, great. But they released a bunch of announcements for more games as well. They put out that first announcement of like, here's some of the things we'll be launching, and most of them were things that already existed elsewhere, and it was like, oh, it's a bit lackluster.
Yeah.
They put out another release of 11 new games coming out. Crossfire Sierra Squad is like a first-person shooter that graphically looks pretty cool. Looks really solid. Light Brigade is a single-player roguelike that is looks pretty spooky. The Cities VR Enhanced Edition is the City Skylines for PSVR 2. There's a new game from the people who made from Alchemy Labs, who made Job Simulator and Vacation Simulator. I'm sure that will be great. That's called Cosmosis High. There's a few other things announced. The main one that I got excited for was the Dark Pictures Switchback, which we saw the trailer for at the beginning of this one here. And then I saw it's just like the Dark Pictures, the roller coaster one. Whatever it was called. And it's, again, you're just on a roller coaster shooting, going through like a haunted house style thing. And for me, I feel like all the games that I'm seeing, while they might be fine, they're all just doing the normal VR thing. And I think that whenever I'm in VR, the thing that is the most annoying to me is, aiming and picking things up and looking at them, like interacting with VR is the most annoying part of VR for me. The thing that I think is its strength is its immersion. And when I play games like Moss or Astrobot VR, where my head has now kind of become the camera, and so like I remember the first time I played Astrobot, and I was like, oh, I'm just controlling this like a normal video game. That's sick, but I can lean and look, and I'm kind of like this giant in this world navigating this little person. And Moss had the same thing going on. And so when I saw this, and I was like, oh, Dark Pictures thing. You know, Jens, right now you're playing the new Dark Pictures anthology title. I've played them all. I love those games. That feels like the perfect use of VR is just make me one of those characters. Just literally make me a character in your story that is just looking around and being on your movie that you have put together, because that will scare the living shit out of me. Now, the reason they didn't do that is probably just a financial thing of going, we can't justify the cost of making that whole game on a platform that is not guaranteed to sell X amounts, blah, blah, blah. But that immersiveness is something that I feel like a lot of VR games are lacking, and they just go with the gimmick of VR. And if you're just going with the gimmick of VR, there's nothing in this announcement list that makes me go, oh, I couldn't just get this experience, either literally this experience on a different platform or something basically the same somewhere else as well. And that's what's disappointing. I'm kind of torn. I'm sure that I will at some point be playing this thing, and I'm sure that it's really good. It's just like, it feels like they're just making the same mistakes just with better hardware, and it costs more. And I don't really know what the end goal for something like this is. The only positive thing I saw was people talking about the idea that potentially, because this is just like a USB-C cable in, that this might be easier to hack, and that you could actually turn this into a PC VR headset, and it would just be a really good PC VR headset that would actually be relatively cheap for the quality that it is. And then that would open up both PlayStation and PC, and Sony might just decide to turn a blind eye, because in a closed ecosystem,
as they've traditionally done in the past.
Yeah, well, like, I mean, well, like you look at something like the hacking, like the PSP. Like the PSP was just, it was the criminal's console. It was ridiculous. That's not what they wanted for it, but it was very much like, all right, this is out of our control.
There was no blind eye turned on that. I was taking the piss. They were super litigious.
No, I know.
They're like, don't even breathe on my console that you now own.
100%, but it still didn't change anything. No. Like, it still became like, and it was like, the only way we could really stop this is we need to stop making these consoles. So they stopped making handhelds. So it's going to be interesting to see how well this sells. But goddamn, like nearly $900 for this is so shockingly expensive.
Yeah, as the balance points out, they are putting their software on PC through Steam a bit now. So maybe it's on the cards for them to actually have proper Windows driver support for this thing and start to release these titles as well.
Maybe it's the next blog post.
Yeah.
It's just lined up in the system.
I think that would be the only way that this thing does well in my mind. At that price point, you have to be tapping into as much of the really core VR gamer as you can, and most of them are on PC.
100%. And at that point, it probably becomes pretty...
the most enticing.
It almost flips.
Yeah,
because it then also speaks to the PlayStation ecosystem. And if they're going to support that with some exclusive games on PlayStation 5 that really are showstoppers and whatever, then you go, oh, okay, now I've kind of got the best of both worlds. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Last thing we want to just talk about is some delays. The main delay that came out this week is Blood Bowl 3 will no longer launch in 2022. It's instead coming out 23rd of February 2023. So we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to play like Warhammer football, as is my understanding of Blood Bowl.
Yeah, I think that's cool. Accurate enough.
Yeah, good. All right, that is literally all the video game news that we have. There is nothing else that happened this week.